M Shadows. How is he to work with as a singer?
He was great. Super, super hardworking, super focused. When we did Wake in the Fallen, I'll put it to you this way. When we worked on Wake in the Fallen, I would say probably not the best singer that we ever worked with. When we worked with him on City of Evil, he was the best singer I've ever worked with.
Really?
Hands down. It was insane, the transformation that this guy did to his voice. And when we made Wake in the Fallen, and I think it's well documented, he developed nodules on his vocal cords. So imagine making one of your seminal records of your career, and even, for them, this was it. This was awesome. We made it. And I think it was shortly after that record, I could be wrong on this, but I think it was shortly after that record that he got diagnosed with a vocal nodule, where the doctor said, not only can you not sing, like, you wouldn't be able to sing for the rest of your life. Like, this is it. Like, yeah, the fact that you're a singer in a band, this is like the worst thing. It's like I don't know. It's almost like an Olympic runner being told, like, yeah, you'll never walk again. Right. So, to me, like, he worked so hard and just became, just technically one of the best singers I've ever worked with. I mean, and you could dive deep into him as a vocalist, meaning, like, you can ask him to pronounce a vowel in a word differently that would have a completely different, and he knows technically how to do all that stuff, like how to put the N in front of your teeth, or how to do something like stuff I don't understand vocalists do, but he worked with one of the best vocal coaches in the world and developed techniques where it's insane. It's insane. Like, and the difference between working with him on Wake in the Fallen to City of Evil was very much like high sound pressure vocal, right? So, like, we did all the screams on this type of microphone, an SM7, and then we did all the singing parts on a 47 copy. It was Sound Deluxe 95, which was their kind of version of a big tube diaphragm microphone. And he would hit the diaphragms hard, right? Both singing and screaming, he would hit them hard. But then working with him on City of Evil, he learned how to properly, sing around his nodules and sing around his vocal cords, sing from the diaphragm, all those things that he was sounding bigger and more aggressive with, like, almost at a whisper on the microphone. So if that makes sense, like, these big, large screams now are like, if you were out in the room with it, it sounds like nothing. Right. And whereas Wake in the Fallen, like, if you want him to scream, he would scream. But then he learned, like, oh, if you want to scream on a record or utilize a microphone, it's a completely different beast. So yeah, I would want to say he became 180 from what he was. And then his sense of pitch was great. And his sense of harmony is really, really good as far as stacking all those background vocals and picking out the harmonies. Really, really good. And he knows how to, like, do his thing, which is great, because if you're doing a vocal with him, or when I was doing a vocal with him, it was like, hey, I'm going to warm up. I'm going to do these parts. Then we're going to go to this song and do these parts. And then I'm going to finish off by doing the low octave, because the low octave blows my voice out. And then I'll be good tomorrow. We can do the choruses. And then I have a day off. So before the day off, I'll do all my screaming, right? So in his mind, he knows how to pace himself on a record too, which a lot of guys don't know how to do. So he's very proactive, if that makes any sense, for him being in the studio and knowing how to work. And I know it takes an enormous amount of discipline on his part, because I know that guy loves to have a beverage. And when we're making records, like, he's bone dry sober, because he just knows, like, I have work to do. I can't drink or do any of that stuff. So super hardworking guy. Yeah, I would in a heartbeat, work with that type of personality.
That is awesome. So you said something I thought was very interesting. You said that he would do the low ends on a specific date because he knew he might blow his voice out a little bit, so he could recover and get back to it. Going back to Wake in the Fallen, when you said he wasn't technically the best singer at that point, did he ever blow his voice out with all those intense screams he had to do?
Yeah, and we did those towards the end when we knew we were going to do those towards the end. So like I said, when we went over budget and we had to move into the Mate studio and kind of create a makeshift studio, that was to finish the screams, because we knew if we do a couple of days of screaming with him, that was it. And that was the end of the record. So then he could kind of recuperate and rest. So we had planned that accordingly as well. So yeah, he knew then, and we knew then, like, okay, there's no sense in screaming right now. Maybe some guys might like to do that to open themselves up, but it's really rare. And for every record I do, I tend to save the heavy, aggressive vocals to the last thing you do.
When you guys recorded the screams for Awaken the Fallen, did you ever like double them, or the screams that I hear on that record? Is that just like a single track scream, or is that multi-layered?
No, that's doubled for sure. And we probably we doubled it. We probably doubled a lot of the main vocals and harmonies. That was a pretty normal thing. Maybe some verse vocals we didn't. If it was a clean verse vocal, we might not have doubled it. But screams for sure always doubled, if not maybe even a little bit more. And then we would probably vocal align it by hand or use the program vocal align to kind of match up where the start and stops of the screams happened to make it sound a little more like one voice, but to give it some thickness, as it were.
All the records after Waking the Fallen, there are still screaming parts on it, but nothing as intense as Waking the Fallen itself. Is that a choice that he's made, not to damage his voice, not to scream as intense as he did before?
I think it's two things. I think yes. I think he also matured as a person. So I don't even know how old they were when they made that. Early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, late teens, around that time.
Maybe 21, 22. And then, you get into your mid 20s and you grow. And I remember working with him on Self-Titled, and the first day of vocals was super frustrating because what was coming out of the speaker wasn't what he was used to hearing. And I had to tell him, I said, you're a different person now. Like you're, maybe in your late 30s at this point, or late 20s at this point, vocally, you're going to sound different than you were when you were 21, So I think, to answer your question, I think he evolved humanly. We just evolve. Our voice maybe kind of changes a little bit, but also with all the things that he has been through with the nodules, with having surgery, with proper singing technique, you're going to end up sounding different, and also experimenting with different microphone choices that work for him. So there was a lot going into that. And I think there was an evolution that you can't not escape, right? Like you just can't sound like you did when you're in your 20s. I think they're super conscious of like the idea of what is the best product or show for our fans, right? And so I think that's first and foremost from a live situation, what they have in their minds. From records, and I don't want to put words in their mouth or anything, but I think when it comes to records, they're just always like, we want to do what we want to do. We want to evolve, and we're going to do whatever makes us happy, But when it comes to live, I think they're very conscious of like, what is a great, like, what would we want to go see as kids, right? And I think when they make records, it's like, what do I want to listen to now? You know what I mean? And those are two different mindsets.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe for more. All the videos on this channel are original. I'm the one conducting all the interviews and editing all the videos together. So if you guys like what you see and you want to support, the best way to do so is honestly just to subscribe. Lots more to come.